Sound crazy to make it.
The right to healthcare is fundamental to any society. To privatize is against all aspects of morality. Now, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we're debating, as you very well know, this House would prohibit all private healthcare. And now, here on side proposition, we're going to prove to you that this resolution must pass, and we're going to give you a fresh perspective on this resolution. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clash, and I'm going to go with some of the previous assumptions that have been made that are false. And then I'm going to go into my extension. The very first thing I'd like to start off with the clash. They mentioned on a POI how the negative effects of government monopoly. But I would like to point out that we currently live in one of those monopolies, where in Canada right now, all healthcare is currently public, and things work relatively well. And that's one of the facts with public healthcare, is that the current system works remarkably well. No, thank you. Now, they talked about how affluent members in societies will receive better healthcare, and they almost directly mention this. And this is obviously immoral, but more importantly, what happens when individuals are denied care, what happens when there's a private healthcare system, is that there's a lack of faith in society. And that's what I'm going to delve further into my point. No, thank you. So now, furthermore, they talked about how private healthcare equals simply more healthcare. Now, this is not really true. And then they talked about how private healthcare can work on incentive basis, that they have incentive to create more healthcare and better care. We can see this is fundamentally flawed. What they have an incentive to do is to create a higher profit, not to provide better care. Now, profit for private industry always arrives first, no thank you, and then comes public healthcare. So what we would say on side proposition is that care comes first, then profit. So, actually, I'll take you right now.
But isn't it true that private companies make profit when they have a product that is better and cheaper than everyone else's?
But the fact is, and the sad fact is that most of the time, private industry will compromise public safety for profit. And that's something that we've seen time and time again, whether it's in corporations such as Nike, or whether it's in multinationals, but we see it all the time, all throughout society. The number one goal of private industry is profit, and then the secondary goal is care. So they said, well, public health care is very expensive. Now I'd like to point out that it is somewhat costly, but say, if we look to Canada, no thank you, we pay relatively low taxes. I'm not saying we pay extremely low taxes, but in comparison to a lot of other European nations, we pay pretty low taxes. Yet we have a public healthcare system that can serve every single member in the society. No thank you. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is a truly excellent thing. Now they mentioned this crazy idea that we're proposing this socialist utopia where everything's great and there's public systems working left, right, and center. Well, ladies and gentlemen, according to them, we live in one of these utopias because we have all public healthcare. So simply put, public healthcare is not a socialist utopian idea. It's a real thing that can work for an average person on a regular basis. So now I'm going to move into my extension. My extension is really quite simple. No, thank you. It's the extension that, well, although public healthcare may be better for a lot of people, the key point about public healthcare is it creates more faith in the public system. It creates more faith in society, and it creates more faith in government. So what happens, no thank you, is that this debate doesn't really come down, doesn't have to come down to which system is better. It's which system is better for society. It's clear that public healthcare is better for society because people feel a lot more safe and they feel a lot more at home when they know that their government cares. They know that their government is going to keep their fundamental right, no thank you, to live, their fundamental right to have a good quality of healthcare. And this is something that gives people a great deal of confidence, and it contributes to our society. Now, if we look at our greater social, no thank you, cooperation, whether public health care is the best system or not, it tends to create a system of trust within our society. And this is something that is extremely important. Now, actually, I'll take one of you. Yes?
But aren't the two goals of giving adequate care and that of profit one and the same? Because they are so inextricably linked in the private sector.
Okay, no, thank you. Actually, what we can see, and if you ask any social teacher, they'll tell you the number one goal of industry is to create a profit. And then comes secondary emotions. I mentioned this numerous times. So now the opposition would have private health care. The opposition believes that private health care creates a better form of healthcare. But what we would say is it lessens the quality of our society. It lessens the trust in government. It lessens the trust between individuals. Because frankly, it's quite sad when your own government can't provide such an essential right such as healthcare. And that's why we, on Side Proposition, proudly propose this motion. Thank you.